Hi there, tubers. This is your Suburbanator. You guessed, another video about the dang Cobalt. Here it is. You know, if it's one thing that this car has done very well, that is defy any and all conventional wisdom. Now, the last video I did about it was the oil pan. I had to replace it, didn't have time to make a video of it. Moral of the story, don't use a dick cheese jack. Now, you keep your car stock, right? Because you don't want to deal with any problems. Yeah, let me take this to the kitchen. Alright, so as I was saying before, you kept the car stock because you were too afraid of what problems you might run into if you went with performance parts, especially third party. And this is the GM Performance Parts intake. I'll get into that in a second. So here's what happened here. It's all distorted around here. Anytime I try to tighten this down, this would pop over here. So you have to tighten it just right. But the mass airflow sensor wasn't always reading, which means that this was leaking. And as I've stated in a previous video, it is extremely rare to see a mass airflow sensor go bad in a GM. Now when I knew of that problem for a while, I really had thought nothing of it at first, but then I remembered that Hondas have a very similar problem right around the area of flex. It likes to dry rot here, and then you got unfiltered air leaking through that and also bypassing the mass airflow sensor, causing certain drivability problems and sometimes even throwing a check engine light. I bought this here when I bought the car, brand new. You know, I had it a few months. I thought, you know what? Let me get it from the people who make the car. Who would know better than the people who make the car? Well, here's a design flaw with this one. And this is part InGen, part AEM. Yes, this was a new filter before this became unusable. Really pissed me off. So here this is here. You slide the gasket in, but as you see, it's just a little too much slack. Now I tried loosening this up, didn't work. What would have worked is if this was molded into like some kind of bronze bushing that had a flange in the bottom, so it wouldn't go any farther up as you tried to slide it on. Just a really bad design. I know InGen and AEM have that design. Really bad design, and there's nothing to accommodate the secondary air pump. And I didn't know I had California emissions when I bought the car because, hey, they're California emissions. I'm all the way here in New York. So the stock one, because it's a piece of cheap plastic crap, that doesn't keep you safe either, because my goal is to try to keep my Cobalt as stock as possible. So I turn over to these guys. I've used their products before. They're really good. And look at this quality intake system here. Look at this. Metal. Even these brackets. I thought these were going to be the cheap bendable brackets. This is very thick gauge steel. And the only bit of plastic that's involved, well, this is very high quality, very dense. So you can see I already installed the studs. And yes, that's not blood. That's a little bit of thread lock. And this is the better design, in my opinion, when connecting to the throttle body, especially when you got to take it off often, because with these Cobalts, I talked to the dealer once. They said you should clean your throttle body every 15,000 miles. So this is a better design, this, in my opinion. Nice and flexible. This is silicone, I believe. Just overall quality parts. And let's say I tear this. Now, when I first had the problem with this gasket, my parts guy at the dealer had to go crazy to find this. Here, well, check this out. Look at that. I don't know how else it's going to be caught on the camera, but you see every individual part is labeled and has a part number. So let's say I tear this boot here. Hey, I can just order another one from K&N, and the whole thing is guaranteed for 1,000,000 miles. And the other dirty secret I found, I thought my warranty would be safe, right? Because, hey, you bought it from the people who made your car. You bought it from your company's performance division. Now, your warranty isn't any safer with this than, let's say, the K&N. And K&N clearly is a better quality. So, I guess I'll just get this sucker together and I'll let you folks know how it goes. So, here it is. Guess we'll see what the filter looks like later. Well, here it is. It's actually a couple days later. I ran into a couple other things. The only thing that's worth noting, the kit comes with two number 44 clamps. Now, for some reason, it just didn't want to wrap around this, so I got the next size available at our local parts store. This is a number 56 clamp. Yeah, you got a little excess, but hey, what the hell? It works. That's the only thing I had to do. I mean, it could have been a defective clamp. Maybe it had a little too much cut off at the end. I don't know what the deal is, but here it is installed. The only thing... Now, I had a little tension here, but then these are slotted here, these holes, so I just used this here. I use mainly this to assemble the kit. You saw it in the first piece of the video. Had the thread lock here. Once I had it all installed, I just tightened it a little bit with this 10mm wrench afterwards. Not much further to go. Remember, it is still plastic. It's a good plastic, but you don't want to over tighten it. These are nylock nuts, so this is all good. I just used this here to loosen these up, slide the whole thing up, and then I got some slack back, and then I retightened them. And thankfully these rubber mounts get a break because I have the stiffened engine mount so the engine doesn't move around too much. I hooked the PCV back up because, look, there's still other emissions components that's going to get your throttle body dirty, and now that I have a performance intake, I really want to make sure I'm utilizing all of my emissions components. The other one was my stock intake. The filter was kind of hidden, but that's not the case here. I don't know how to... Oh, alright, here we go. Yeah, I haven't used this tripod in a while, but this is the PCV right here. Yeah, it's a good system. It's held onto its alignment. I've driven a couple hundred miles. It held its alignment very well, mainly because I had put the thread lock there, the red stuff. Whoops. Don't worry, it made it to the ground. I'll get it later. But anyway, that's all I really wanted to show. And my only real criticism, I guess, they could have designed this tube for the secondary air a little bit better, like maybe have a 90-degree bend in there somewhere, but you know what? Everything clears, it works well. This is all settled, and I made mention of these brackets. Now, you know, that's a relatively small part compared to the rest of the intake, so if they took the time to build them that well, that just shows how much attention is paid to detail. So is this system meeting my expectations? No, it's exceeding them, actually, and not to go off on a tangent here, but if I ever had a chance to have my own car company, build my own cars, I would use K&N as my OEM filters and save all the research money trying to build a factory intake when I can just use them. And this is just a good system. And it's surprisingly quiet, too. Doesn't make that much noise, only when you really wind up the engine under acceleration, so it is really good. Actually, I'm going to start it up. This is a cold start, if you will, so you get to hear what the air pump sounds like. Sounds kind of cool, by the way, especially when it really resonates in there now. You really hear it. Here's what it sounds like. There you go. You know, it's too bad the California bureaucrats can't approve it, because I think this would improve the car's emissions. The secondary air breathes better. The engine doesn't have to work as hard to that restrictive intake, so if it works less hard, it's using less fuel. And like the factory intake, it utilizes all the emissions components. Now, K&N will say not legal for use in California, other states adopting California emissions. Now, K&N only says that because, you know, they want to keep things simple. And there's nothing wrong with assuming, hey, if it's not good enough for California, it's probably not good enough for the other states that adopt California emissions. But every state tends to do things differently. New York included. Now, I used to do inspections. They never asked for anything like carb numbers or anything like that. They just make sure that it has the emissions it's supposed to have, they're working, and they're not being circumvented in any way, and there's not a check engine light, and this intake here meets all the criteria. So in New York, even though it's California equipped, it would actually pass because it meets all the criteria. Like the factory intake, uses your secondary air, your mass airflow, and your PCV. It's not doing anything differently that the factory intake wouldn't do, and that's good enough for New York. And it's not throwing a check engine light, so I know I'm good. So hopefully this video was helpful. Feel free to, any and all input is appreciated, and hey, if you have a Cobalt, this might just be the right thing to get. And by the way, I'll put the link to where I got it, because I got it at a good price too. I got it for $220 after shipping. Everyone else wanted like $350. One person even wanted like $400. Granted, if I had to spend that, I would have. It was clearly worth it, and it would have been worth it. So, yeah, that's all I got to say on that, and have yourselves a nice day.